Today I'm going to teach you how to become Russian in 42 easy steps. Now obviously the first step is getting angry with dogs when they walk past. That wasn't the first step, there's now 43 steps. The first real step is obviously to learn Russian culture, perhaps Russian history, Russian poetry and all of that. That's the first step. The second step is going to be to go to the Russian Banya. At the Russian Banya you're going to learn so much more than just the Russian Banya.
Russian business.
At the Russian Banya you're going to listen to other Russians speaking about life, about what's going on in the world from their point of view. You're going to learn and get taught about different traditions by people. So going to the Banya, there's a whole culture involved in it. I go to the Banya once a week with my friends, and if you move to Russia then I advise you to do this. Perhaps to start with you'll go to the public Banya, and where you just paid to go inside and you'll just experience the Banya with lots of people you don't know. And then as you get your friends group, you'll perhaps start going once a week with your friends, and you'll start to learn so much about life in Russia. The next thing to do to become a Russian is to eat sunflower seeds. Now sunflower seeds are eaten in the UK too, but the way that Russians eat them is they either open the shell with their hands, or they open it with their mouth and drag the sunflower seed out, or they put the whole sunflower seed in their mouth with the shell, open it somehow magically in their mouth, spit out the shell and keep the seed in the mouth. I don't know how they manage to do that, but if you can do that then you're already halfway to becoming a real Russian. So Russian people typically will say it's impossible to become a Russian because you don't have the Russian soul. They say it's all about having the Russian soul, and what makes and gives you the Russian soul, I guess probably being born in Russia and then having the types of qualities and mentality of a Russian person. And in order to have the Russian soul you probably have to have been through lots of different situations which garnishes your Russian soul to become the Russian soul rather than a soul that is not Russian. Typically a lot of Russian people will answer your question about how do you like Russia, what do you think of Russia, and they'll say, well, you can think what you want but you'll never feel it like a Russian because you don't have the Russian soul. So here, this is the sports school for athletics, and here it says sport is just a norm of life. So you might not have a Russian soul, but there's lots of things you can do to feel or become like a Russian person, and one of those things is to learn to say epically long toasts at someone's birthday party or celebration. Russian people won't just simply say happy birthday. They will say an epic toast which could last for maybe 5 minutes while they talk about some memory from childhood that they spent with the person, or even if they just met that person on the first day, they could talk about some memory of their own childhood and how it is valuable in today's speech when talking about the person that they're toasting. So Russian toasts can be extremely long. I can say that the only toasts that I don't like are the ones that are not, what's the word, I know the Russian word, искренний, the ones that are not sincere. I hate it when I'm at a birthday party and some person will stand up and do a toast about how much they love me or how much they love that person that they're toasting and talk about loads of things, and you know they're talking BS because that's not who they are, that's not how they feel about the person, And that kind of dishonest toast is something that I really do not like. Not sincere at all. The next point is, when you come home to your house, take off your shoes, put on your slippers, tapochki in Russian, and put on your house clothes. These are your tracksuit bottoms, maybe your just comfortable clothes that you like to wear at home. This is such a Russian thing. The next point is learn about the different types of mushrooms and then go to the forest, collect the mushrooms, make sure you don't collect the bad ones. Katya, что нашла?
Подберезовик.
Молодец. Это типа гусный, да, такой?
А?
Это густненький, да?
Это валун тоже, но уже такой большой.
This one's a bit of a sad one. Gonna throw it away. Катя,
Ушли за грибами
ты
и не
что-то
вернулись.
здесь уже была один раз, да?
Да, вот вторая моя.
Их съели волки.
I'd check with your friends to start with, just to make sure you haven't got any paganka or any of the other bad ones that can maybe make you crazy or give you a trip, unless you want a trip, right? And then cook them into a really nice, tasty dish that you can enjoy the sweat and the hard work of you going into the forest to find those mushrooms. And then the ones that you didn't use, you can either take them and share them with your friends, or you can ferment them so that you can enjoy them throughout the year. Next, buy a dacha or a garden settlement or a standalone dacha in a village, grow your own vegetables and ferment them to eat throughout the year. So over here, this is the room of love. You can see with the heart. So I'm going inside here and the smell is pretty bad. Здравствуйте.
Посмотрите.
О, отлично. А что это лук, да?
Это лук, да.
А что здесь?
А здесь полоника.
Полоника. Даже не знаю, что это такое.
Ягоды.
А, ягоды.
Давайте я вам дам попробовать.
О, спасибо.
Попробуй.
Спасибо. Check it out. Wow. Такие сладкие, да? Also, while you're at your dacha, you can have some great summer days. You can have some amazing barbecues, go swimming in the lakes with your friends. Next, you should make some samagon, which is some Russian, what do you guys call it even? Moonshine. Little samagon laboratory. Pretty cool. Check out this thing. Got no idea what it does, but it makes amazing drinks. Make some Russian moonshine called samagon, learn how to make your favorite recipe, and then enjoy your samagon with your friends after you've had a banyo with them, or even at your dacha with your neighbors, enjoying those nice long summer nights.
Настоечки.
How cool these guys are on the boat, look. Нет. As you chill out, eat your own vegetables and fruits, enjoy your barbecue, and just love the Russian countryside. Now, while you're drinking that nice homemade samagon that you made with your friends, make sure you don't drink chasers. In Russia, people don't tend to really drink chasers, although they do sometimes, and if they do drink chasers, then you want to drink kvass, which is a typical Russian drink that I should perhaps make my own video about that whole thing. I think I've made one before about it in the past, but perhaps I'll repeat that because it's something that you really need to know about. Perhaps I'll do it in summer. But make sure you're not drinking chasers, but you're eating appetizers, which is a whole thing in Russia. Then what else have we got here? We've got some sausage and some bread. This is cabbage and carrot together. Caviar with butter. This is holodets. This is like a jelly weird thing with meat in it. I absolutely hate it. It's vile. I really can't stand it. Just the sight of it, the thought of it is horrible. Then we've got some more cabbage here that one of our friends has brought here. It's really tasty. Pickled. This is pelmeni, so this is different meats with a pasta around it. It's already cooked. So the meat is already cooked, but we just put it in water for like 10 minutes. It's ready, and we eat it with mayonnaise, like, and sometimes sour cream. It's really good. What else have we got? So here we've got different cheeses. This is sausage kolbasa, it's called. Of course, black bread, different cheeses, carrots, fruits, and then this here is bacon and sala. And sala is basically pork fat. The closest I can really come up to as a translation is appetizers or snacks, and it's loads of different types of little finger foods that you could eat when you're drinking with your friends, and that's anything from different types of fish to salads to, you know what it's similar to, like beef jerky in the US, or maybe like perhaps it's similar to pork scratchings in the UK, or salted peanuts, chips, things like that. The next completely Russian thing to do is to shake everyone's hand. To shake absolutely everyone's hand that you're friends with or acquaintances with. So if you're going to go and play football, then you need to shake a lot of hands. If you're going to go to the gym and you see people on a regular basis, you're going to be shaking a lot of people's hands. I wouldn't do it in the shower though, that's a bit weird. If you see someone you know in the shower, well, maybe you should. Just make sure you're wearing your glasses. The next thing is to defend your country's honor to the death. If someone says something bad about Russia, then you have to stand up for Russia to the death, even if they are right? Even if the person says something that is right about Russia, but it's not something that's nice about Russia, then you have to defend your country's honor to the death. And in fact, even if someone doesn't say something bad or not nice about Russia, even if they just perhaps insinuate that something in another country might be better than in Russia, even if it's something ridiculous like in France the cheese or the croissants in France are better than Russia, which we all know is probably true, right? Because France is known for croissants. But if you were to say that to a Russian person, that croissants are better in France than in Russia, be prepared to argue with that person to the death that Russian croissants are better than French. Next, you want to go for barbecue, shashlik in Russian, and you want to do it at -20. It's freezing cold outside, there's a bitter wind, but you're going to arrange with your friends to go for a barbecue, and it doesn't matter that it's suddenly become cold, you're going to go anyway. And also, while you're there, you may as well go for a dip in the ice water. Cut a hole in the ice, go for a dip, get back out, have a nice warm cup of tea, and then have shashlik. Okay.
Don't jump, don't be stupid, just sit. You cool? You cool?
Oh.
Just stand, wait.
Oh, wait, don't go.
Wait. 3 times, Sam. 3 times.
So next we're talking about actual snacks, and of course Russians eat kolbasa, Russian sausage, loads of different types, absolutely loads. And then of course we've got grenki. Now grenki, you probably can't hear because I can't roll my R's, but it's black Russian rye bread that's fried in garlic, and a very popular dish to have with, I should say dish, maybe a snack, to have with beer. You can get this in most cafes and restaurants. The next thing is sirniki. Now again, you probably can't hear me saying it correctly because I can't say my R's, but sirniki is a mixture of flour, and tvorog, an egg. It's a Russian cottage cheese. So this one is a very traditional Russian food called seniki. It's basically cottage cheese, eggs and flour, and it's fried. And it's a Russian traditional breakfast that is extremely popular here in Russia. So a staple of the Russian diet, especially if you're doing sport, is not rice, it's buckwheat. Buckwheat, very, very popular. It's something that a lot of people eat every day, especially if you're into sport. And then of course we've got salla, and salla is pork fat. It's a delicacy that people will often eat, especially if they're drinking, you know, vodka or something like that, or your samagon that you made. Next, you want to eat pancakes with savory fillings such as caviar, salmon, or perhaps some sour cream in there. You want to have pelmeni, and you want to learn how to bake your own pelmeni. And then you want to also eat that with sour cream or with mayonnaise or sometimes ketchup. Ooh, ketchup! Russians are going to kill me for saying that. Then you want to have some Russian traditional drinks like medovukha.
What's the taste?
Taste is
Ну вот, ну прикольно же все равно
it's
с
like
гвоздиком.
water with sugar. So like with a little bit of flavor.
Which is a honey-based alcohol drink, a bit like beer, but tastes of honey. And different strengths, different types. Suzdal is a very famous place that sells it, and another one is Spitin. I think I'm saying that right. I don't even know if I've ever had it before. It's like a Russian herbal kind of drink. It's supposed to be really beneficial to your immune system. So we all know that Russians are Orthodox Christians, but what you don't know maybe is that Russians put these icons everywhere. One place that you often see icons is glued onto the glove compartment, the door of the glove compartment, or perhaps hanging from the mirror. So it's good luck. It's not probably luck, but more of a good thing to have an icon in your car, because you know that your car is perhaps blessed. Sometimes in Russia people even buy a new car and then have the car blessed, which is something that's very interesting, right? And then the other thing is people print business cards with calendars on the back. So you want to get yourself one of these business cards with a calendar. I don't know where people put these calendars, right? We've all got calendars on our phone, but people still think it's good to make these kind of adverts with a calendar on. Perhaps you put it on your fridge or something like that. And if you have an office where members of the public are going to come and perhaps sit and sign contracts with you, then the chances are that you're going to put a photo of Vladimir Putin on the wall. The amount of offices that I've been to, and in fact, when we had our office here, I also had a photo of Vladimir Putin on the wall, and I think I had Medvedev for a while too. And so you can sit in your office drinking your mors, which is a Russian fruit drink with real berries. I guess it's a bit like Kool-Aid, except it has actual fruit inside it. It's not just loads of sugar, but I think mors is basically fruit, sugar and water. So it's New Year's holidays in Russia. You've had New Year's and you're just enjoying the holidays with your family and friends. You might go sledging or ice skating, go for a walk, but when you're sitting at home with your log fire, eating your traditional Russian foods, the chances are that you'll watch Home Alone and Ivan Vasilievich Меняет профессию, and that is a traditional Russian, or should I say Soviet, film that everyone watches at New Year. Now if you're walking down the street in Russia, you're not going to smile at anyone unless you know them, of course, or unless they do something for some reason to make you smile. Otherwise you're going to keep a completely straight face, because Russians do not give their smile away to strangers. That smile has a lock and key and 500 padlocks over it, and only when you I guess, deserve this person's smile, is that person going to smile at you? And obviously, now that you're a Russian person too, you're not going to be smiling, or you're not going to give your smile away for any small reason. And of course, next you want to be very direct with your friends. Very direct. Your personality is extremely direct. You're going to tell people how it is, and you're not going to worry if it's going to hurt them, because the truth is more important than anything else. You're going to have to leave that whole wokeness behind, because in a woke society you're used to not really saying anything bad just in case it offends anyone. Whereas here, obviously you don't want to say mean things, but if something needs to be said, then you're going to have to say it and not worry about perhaps offending somebody. So next, you're going to learn Russian cat language. When a Russian person speaks to a cat, they say kss, 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 kss. That's the way to talk to a cat in Russian. And so the next thing is, when you want to drink with your friends, you're chilling with your cat, you've spoke to your cat, in order to signal to your friends that you want to drink, you're going to do this, which is a signal that you're going to drink, well, come on, let's drink some sort of strong alcohol. I still don't know why that is. Russians, tell me why that is the sign for drinking strong alcohol. And of course, you're going to have some really strange flavored chips or crisps in the UK to eat along with the alcohol that you're going to drink. In Russia we've got flavors like caviar flavor, obviously, then we've got pork fat flavor, Sala, and we've also got sparkling wine flavor. That's a bit crazy in my opinion. If you've had sparkling wine flavor, let me know your thoughts. So that brings me to the end of today's list and the end of today's video. So of course, they are all the points that you can do to become a Russian. There was 42 when I started, but I added a few here and there along the way that I thought of. And so, can you become a Russian? Well, you can't become a Russian, because obviously there's the Russian soul. And I think you've got to be born really in Russia to get the Russian soul, right? To have a Russian soul. You let me know in the comments, Russian people, if you think someone can acquire a Russian soul, or it's something you have to be born with. And you let me know, how far along are you to becoming a Russian based on the things that I've mentioned in today's video. And also let me know about some other things that you think are important in order to become a Russian. Now obviously this was just a bit of fun, and I'm going to have a few Russians saying, you can't become a Russian, it's not possible to become a Russian, it's something that you have, that you're born with. We know that. This is just a bit of fun, guys. Don't get too over the top about the whole thing. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.